Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video featuring more overloading patterns. I have it set at 500 to 1500 rating level. I didn't want to go too much higher than that because then you maybe get into more calculation than pattern recognition. I recommend pausing the video at any time if you need to think longer. Here we have, let's see, a bishop just developed here, but that leaves our opponent open to the overloading tactic here, and we can see a great pattern, one that you should try and learn. And I recommend doing a set of problems like this, going through them more than once, because if you just look at a puzzle, solve it, and then just don't look at it again, you might forget that tactic or what you learned. But if you go over a set of problems, whether it's 10 or 20 or 100 or more, go through them nice and slow. Take your time the first time through. Then go through a second time and maybe give yourself half the amount of time. And try and go through those problems about 7 times, faster each time. Towards the end, hopefully you'll be solving those problems, almost instantly, or in like 10 or 15 seconds. All right, the pattern here is to capture, and then that could leave this battery open here. If instead we have a capture of our bishop, our queen would just capture and then protect the knight here. So if that's a little bit complicated for you, take a look at it, especially for beginners. But that looks to be the move. And the pattern here is that knight is being knocked out, and we're going after the bishop here. So, the knight can't attack, defend, and cover that bishop at the same time. So capture, and then it allows us to pick this off. And of course, if the knight recaptures, then our queen would recapture. And so we just go up ahead in material there. All right, I'll try to do at least 10 problems. And that last one was rated like, I think, 1090 something. Here a pawn has been pushed forward. What can we do here? Well, when you're trying to solve tactics, look for them in this order: checks, captures, and threats. So because checks are most forcing, that's why you should look at those first. And we don't have any checks on the king. So captures, are there any unprotected pieces? Well, this rook, but there's no way to immediately attack that. So then we have to look at threats. So we could go up here maybe with our knight attacking the queen, and that queen would have to move. If the queen may be moved here to attack our knight, well, then the knight could just pick off that bishop, which is protected by the knight, but then our other bishop can capture here. So, attack of the queen, capture, and then we go up in material there. So, the different ways you can overload your opponent. You can overload their defenses. You can overload a single piece, that's trying to cover too much. Maybe one piece, a knight is defending 2 pieces that are attacked. So if you take out one of those pieces, the knight can't cover the other one, and it's overloaded. So let's take a look at the next problem here. We have pawn attacking, and the threat is to capture here and then pick off our rook. So what can we do here? Well, we want to look at checks first, and if they do anything. I mean, we could move our queen here and check, but do we have a good follow-up? And that's something you have to pay attention to. You know, checking can be all right, but you have to make sure you have a good follow-up. You don't want to just check just because you can. All right. Well, should we capture here? But then that could open our king up in the future. And why don't we just capture with the rook, attacking the queen here? So then that queen will have to move. Maybe the queen will be overloaded. So that's where the overloading pattern comes in. We're going to attack the queen by capturing this pawn, lining up on the queen and the rook. The queen would have to get out of the line of fire. But then once that happens, maybe the queen goes here or here to protect the rook. Well, then we can go ahead, pick out or knock out the rook, and once the queen recaptures, the queen is overloaded and cannot defend both the knight and the rook at the same time. So here we go. Now we can pick off the rook. Because that queen was overloaded, we're able to pick off the knight here. All right, good little pattern there. I hope you're doing all right with these problems. Okay, bishop. What is that bishop doing there? Well, it's our turn. So we're lined up on the king, but if we capture, the king could just recapture, and I don't see a good follow-up there. We're looking for a way to overload our opponent. So, all right. Well, we're attacking the queen. Now, you want to look for checks first. The only one I see is to capture here with the queen, but that doesn't have a good follow-up. Captures and threats. Okay, all right. Now we may have something. If only, now here's a way you can solve tactics and puzzles. If you look at something and you're thinking, man, like this, I'd like to capture this queen, but how do I do that? I can't. It's pinned to my king. Now, if you take the time to castle and move, it's going to give that queen time to escape. So, the option might be, well, maybe we could move this rook so it's not lined up on our king here and pinning this bishop. Now, how could we do that? Well, maybe, and pause the video to see if you want to figure it out on your own, but if not, here we go. We take this rook out, going up in material, and if our opponent tries to capture our queen, well, then we're able to knock out their queen, and we would go up in material there. So capture, and then if they recaptured, we would have an advantage there of rook for the bishop and extra pawns here as well. All right, on to the next problem. We have a pawn pushing forward, guarding our bishop, getting out of the line of fire of that rook. So, what can we do how How can we overload our opponent's position? So they just pushed forward with the pawn here. And we are trying to promote our pawn. All right, well, maybe we could bring our rook here and then go here. Try and get this promoted. If they capture here. I mean, he could just move and then we could capture and push our pawn forward. But we have to watch out. You want to look for checks, captures, and threats, not only ones that you can initiate or perform against your opponent, but what if they check us here? We run up here. I don't think they have much of a follow-up after that. They might try and start running this pawn forward. But I don't know. I'm thinking this move here. How do they defend against that? If they push a pawn, they're attacking us. We could capture, and that's looking dangerous because then their pawn goes forward even further. Oh, but then our rook would be behind it and be able to stop it. Okay, so that doesn't work. But, okay, and our bishop is protecting. Do we have any kind of check here that sacrifices? If they capture, we could have a check there. The king would just move. We'd be attacking this. But I don't know if that's worth a whole rook. All right, I don't know. Maybe this one is a little tricky, but I'm thinking here. Then what will our opponent do? If they push this pawn, we just grab their rook. So I don't see them doing that. And then our rook will be guarding that passed pawn. All right. Let's go ahead and move that. That's what they wanted. Okay, we have the check, so we can escape. Yeah, and I guess there's nothing they can do with this threat here. Once we go here, we're threatening to capture. They're pinned to the king. If they capture us here, then our pawn will recapture and promote. All right, on to the next problem. The queen captures a pawn here, creating a bishop and queen battery. Oh, and also piling up on our bishop with this rook. So there's a threat here. So we have to act. What can we do? All right. Well, what does black have here? If we look for a check, maybe, well, pause the video as always if you want to calculate things out more before I start giving away answers. Maybe we go here. If they capture with the rook, we could check. Our opponent's king would have to run. Then we could capture their rook. Queen would have to capture and it would be overloaded because then we could pick off their bishop. But then material would be what? Oh, it'd be even because we'd both have the knight and 5 pawns. And then what do? We could go after these two. Pick off a pawn when that knight runs, maybe. Okay. Let's see if there's anything better. So when you find something that looks like a good move, maybe you can find a better one. I could go here as well and line up on their king. Oh, okay, here's another option. Maybe, well, can we even go there? No, because then the queen could just capture and defend this rook here. All right. Oh, here's another option. Maybe we attack the queen. Then the queen will have to move. We can pick off the rook. The queen will have to capture there, and our bishop can capture their bishop. So maybe that's a better way forward. So we go here. Attacking the queen and bishop at the same time. We have a discovered attack on their rook. So their queen is under attack. They have to deal with that. All right, that looks to be the way to go. So here we go. Now we can take the rook and pick off the bishop. And we're attacking the knight at the same time. All right, we have 4 more to go here. The king has pushed forward. Does that do anything? Was there a reason that black did not take that knight? Well, because then there would be 2 passed pawns if the pawn recaptured and if the queens were exchanged, maybe. But then they still have that bishop to help stop that. All right. Oh, the overloading principle here. Okay, the king has moved up. What can white do? We're eyeing the bishop with our knight. We're eyeing their queen. So that looks to be the way to go. We capture the queen. King has to go that way. We capture the bishop. The king attacks our knight. Does the knight have an escape, though? Yes, capture there. So, oh, excuse me, I went the wrong way. Huh. Yeah, I guess the king was just overloaded there. All right. Not sure why they didn't just capture the knight. If we go back, we could do the analysis here. So after king to e6, why didn't they just... Yeah, it looks like they would have been winning if they just did that. So maybe there was time pressure in this example. So here, the best thing to do is what? Get rid of the queens. That just helps your opponent, I think. Then after they capture, you have these passed pawns. So there is a big pawn majority here, but the bishop can help knock those out. So here you have this passed pawn. So I don't know. Material wise, black is ahead by +3. All right, back to the next problem here. So knight has jumped forward, attacking the rook. So what does black have in this position? How can we overload our opponent? Well, we could try and set up a mate threat by going this way, but they could just defend that with their rook. All right, can anything be overloaded here? Oh, and then they could just block with that knight going back. So, all right, what else do we have? We could move our bishop up here to help attack. But then, like I said, oh, well, it might be hard to defend that. Okay, maybe that's the way to go. We threaten a mate there, by lining everything up on that. Our opponent will have to defend that. Now, this rook can't defend by going here, or we just capture with our rook. If this rook tries to defend, we can pick off this rook with queen and our rook with check, and force their queen to give itself up. So, what's the other option? The queen will have to defend by going here. Oh, and then that allows us to target this. Okay, so that looks to be the way to go. Threaten the mate. The queen is protecting, but now we can capture with check. We can go after this with check. And then what? We do have two pieces under attack here, but if the king runs, the only place the king can go is here. Then we could take a pawn out. And threaten an attack on their king, maybe. Oh, or even better. Well, I don't know how good this is. We could, because we have to watch out that they don't have a back rank mate here with their queen coming down. So if we try and attack their queen here, they could back rank mate us because this pawn is covering that. Anyway, it says that white is ahead here. They're being checked, so they would have to move their king here. Oh no, we still have a blocking move there. So we could attack their queen by going here, and then if they back rank check us, our bishop would escape. Anyway, let's do the final problems here. We just have two more. The queen, or bishop, excuse me, has captured here in the center. What do we do? Well, we capture with the knight. That looks to be an obvious move. Adding the pressure here. So we'll have two attackers. They have two defenders, or actually we'll have three attackers. So we overload that piece which can't move, or we grab the queen there. So we capture, targeting the knight. That'll give us 1, 2, 3 attackers on that knight, and they only have 2 defenders. So that looks to be a good way to go. And that's all they want to see. So we have 3 attackers and they only have 2 defenders, and so they're gonna, and they can't move this knight because it's pinned. I mean, if they try and attack here, then we just capture with the bishop first and exchange off, and we'll be ahead a piece. All right, the final problem. Here we go. Bishop to e2. What do we have here? Bishop is developing. That way the king can castle. And now what? What does black have in this position? Well, we have a bishop lined up here on this knight. So maybe that's a possibility. We could attack their queen. So if our knight jumps up here and attacks the queen, that unleashes a discovered attack on the knight. And also the knight will be attacking here, threatening a fork. So I think that's the way to go. Make sure there aren't any surprises. All right, here we go. Attack the queen. So that leaves the knight totally unprotected there. So we just go ahead, pick off the knight. All right, and now we're threatening this as well. You know, the fork is still in play. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed those 10 problems. Feel free to leave comments as usual. Like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and have a super chess day.